generally speaking, at least the biggest ones.
I'd say I'm fairly easy to please. Oh, what the hell.
Bastard!
A week later the footage was found. Hello and welcome to Brand X Reviews. This year for Halloween we're going to be doing a series of reviews leading up to Halloween itself, which is on a Friday. So we're going to do Monday to Friday, different reviews. This year we've picked...
We're reviewing different films, but our theme is going to be found footage in general.
So for this one we've got, we're going to generally talk about the last broadcast, which I think you've probably seen more times. I mean, this is your copy, so I can't let you have the floor with
Actually,
this.
no, I've only seen it the first time with you and now again tonight. So
I stand corrected.
We've only seen it twice.
Yeah. Well, this is one, when did it come out? 98?
It came out in 1998. I think it came out the year before the Blair Witch,
Yeah,
which was 99. Which is mainly why this film is actually kind of worth talking about. It is literally did predate the Blair Witch by a year, and is a very similar premise in some ways, but quite different in others.
Out in the woods kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It even says on the front, like, may have influenced Blair Witch. It certainly preceded it. It's not as good. It's nowhere near as good. But,
I was going to say, I'm going to preface that comment with Blair Witch is a lot better than this, but it is kind of interesting in its own right. A lot of people now kind of equate found footage films with Paranormal Activity. That's the big name in that kind of genre at the moment. There's been a lot of other films, some good, a lot bad. I think it's largely to blame with films like this, and especially the Blair Witch and Paranormal Activity, which made a huge amount of money with very little budget put into them. So I think a lot of people have thought, right, we don't have a budget, so let's just make it found footage. Even if it doesn't make any sense, we'll just get away with it. Ultimately, it's a genre that you either like or you don't like, and a lot of it seems to depend on how much you value your imagination and how much things grounded in realism. I don't mean to sound like that's slagging people off or you don't like found footage, you don't have a good imagination. It's simply whether you find what your brain is like imagining is beyond like the scope of the camera is more scary than what the filmmakers could come up with like a CGI budget, basically.
Well, it's like the three sort of three major fears. Fear of violent death, fear of abandonment, and fear of the unknown, and these play into the latter, because things like Alien, where you see everything is gory, that's fear of violent death. So I mean,
even then, Alien, they did a very good job of not showing you a lot of the alien to hide the fact that it didn't look that good.
There's a good balance.
This is kind of going to an extreme of that. I mean, people say, oh, well, how can you be scared of like a door creaking open in Paranormal Activity? Well, that's not the point. We're not really afraid of the door. We're afraid of what might be at the other side of the door.
I think people can relate to that as well. Because a lot of people watch things like Aliens or whatever, something that's really gory, or Saw, for example. Nobody's really had, well, not a lot of people have really had to deal with that kind of like graphic stuff. But everybody has got a story about that time when they were on their own and they heard something coming. You were saying.
Yeah, one time when I had the house to myself and nobody else had a key to the house, nobody else could possibly get in, and suddenly, like, there's noises downstairs. Turns out my parents were back from holiday, like, a few days early and had just made it in about 2 o'clock in the morning. But that few minutes when I was just waking up and wondering, what the hell is that noise, scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, there's nothing to be scared of, but again, it's fear of the unknown. And these films play to that. So when they're done well, and they're done in such a way, they really are quite good. But if you don't kind of vibe with that, you're not going to enjoy it.
Just like, I can't stand sports films. I'm not a sports fan, I hate sport films. That doesn't necessarily say sport films are bad or people that like sport films there's something wrong with them. It's just a matter of taste. And that's what it is with found footage, really. Either you like it or you don't. Anyway, the genre itself starts back a lot earlier than a lot of people really realise. I mean, most people have heard of the Blair Witch, even if they haven't watched it, which was fairly late 90s. 99, did you say? Yeah. The first established found footage film was actually 1980 in the Cannibal Holocaust, which you may have heard of because it was one of those original video nasties that were banned. You literally could not get this film without like bootlegging it somehow because it was considered too graphic, too gory, too like sick for you to watch.
What was the premise of that?
Well, basically, some documentary filmmakers had gone into the Amazon or the Congo or some jungled area and pissed off some cannibals until they killed them, and then some other people went in to find the footage that was left behind. It wasn't found footage as you would probably recognise it today, because a lot of it was shot properly like a proper film. It was just the segments on the footage that they're going back through to find out what happened to this earlier expedition that are found footage.
It's a mixture of traditional film.
Yeah.
A bit like Sinister on Kids. You haven't seen that, but it sounds like that. It's
well, I've not actually seen Cannibal Holocaust myself.
Yeah.
I just mainly know about
it.
it. The first one that I would really class as being Blair Witch-esque is UFO abduction, also sometimes referred to as the McPherson tapes. Now, if anybody tries to tell you that's an actual alien abduction, slap them.
I know somebody, he wouldn't have it. He says, I was like, it's fake. There are actors in it that I've seen in other things, like The X-Files. There's like an actress in it that's been in X-Files.
Well, actually, that was the remake. But
it's like, yeah. And but the guy wouldn't have it. He's just like, I'm not so sure. I think it might actually be real. You know, it's like it's not.
Seriously, the first one isn't real. The remake they did of it, like a few years later when the Blair Witch was coming out, definitely isn't real. It's got a character out of the X-Files. There was another guy that's been an extra in about 1,000 different things, including X-Men. Man of Steel, loads of films. He's got a massive filmography. He's always like third fug from the right or something, but it's the same guy.
No, it could still be real though.
No, it doesn't.
It's not real. It's like Blair Witch isn't real. WWF wrestling isn't real. Star Wars isn't real. It's like Christ, man, wouldn't have it.
Yeah, it was basically made in 1989 was the original UFO abduction, and it was remade in 1998.
That's what I've seen.
Yeah, that's it's a bit more professional is the remake. The original is very much shot on literally like a handheld camcorder. I found it on YouTube and it's very poor quality and it's hard to see what's going on. And it's the first time you definitely get the, I've got some kind of like strange muscle disorder which means I can't hold the camera still at all for like 5 seconds. Especially when there's something like interesting to look at on screen, it's got to be jiggling all over the place.
I think as well with this, it's not just traditional films that inspired things like what we're going to talk about in the last broadcast. It was other things as well, like real documentaries that people would kind of say, well, it's not acted. Things like these kind of tapes were going around in the 90s about aliens.
I've seen a lot of these.
I mean, I've got a load of them. I watched a load of them.
You were more the aliens, I was more into ghosts with my particular thing.
Yeah, but there was a lot of those things like the Roswell autopsy as well. It was all these kind of... the Roswell autopsy was presented as real, you know, on TV. They made real documentaries about it, but that was essentially a found footage episode kind of thing. But anyway, we'll kind of move on if you want. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
We're not mentioning the that ghost documentary with the.
Oh God, yeah. Well, yeah, that's a typical example. Was the ghost documentary with the guy who he went into a loft and there was loads of like stuff that he said was up there, and all of a sudden he emerges and he's like noise in the attic, and he comes out with
kind of one of the stupidest faces we've ever seen.
He's like he looks like he's had an accident. But I think we've got the clip here somewhere. Let's just have a look. He looks like he's having an accident.
We didn't know whether to go up there or what. We knew something happened.
Lay down, Jeff. What happened? Put something around my neck. Look at his. Oh shit.
Oh my God. He was scared.
Jeff, please get down. I gotta get out of here. Well, it's definitely raising him.
It's like, yeah, do you see him? He's like got the look on his face.
It kind of reminds me of that kind of moment in a porn film where the actor's just like
yeah. Well,
the money shot.
Actually, I don't quite see it. Actually, I can't quite see it.
Here you go. Here you go. What happened?
Oh, there it is. There it is. Yeah.
Are you okay, buddy?
Oh, God.
Look at his...
Bit wrong. But yeah, there's
But
loads
yeah,
of
there were a lot of
examples.
these documentaries that were done in this like really serious way that you had to question the authenticity of. And this is what fits well into that genre. The
Last broadcast.
yeah, the last broadcast is what they would refer to as a mockumentary. Basically, the Blair Witch was as well. It's found footage, but it's presented to you as if it was a real documentary about something that actually happened.
Well, that was the thing with the Blair Witch. I think I don't know if that was documentary or that was just like raw footage edited in such a way. It's hard to know these things.
Yeah,
it was.
the
Actually,
Blair
it
Witch
was,
is kind of in between because it's.
Yeah, well, it was because
they were filming a documentary, but this stuff happened to them while they were filming the documentary. Basically going back, like I said, there was the UFO abduction one. There was the remake that came a good few years later. I kind of wonder if somebody had been like showing previews of the Blair Witch around Hollywood, because you've got the last broadcast, you've got the remake of this alien abduction thing. All tend to happen around the very late 90s, 98, 99 kind of period. And that's usually a sign in Hollywood that somebody was showing a script around and some executives went, hey, I like that idea.
We can do that ourselves very easily.
I mean, it's why you end up with films like Drop Zone and
Terminal
Velocity and 100 others.
White House Down, Olympus Has Fallen,
there are other found footage films that don't usually follow that genre and aren't actually horror, which is surprising. Basically, in 1989, there was 84 Charlie Mopic, which is actually a Vietnam war drama presented as a fake documentary. Basically, the 84C Mopic is the kind of... it's like military jargon for like the guy who's actually doing the documentary. It's like Mopic for motion picture and so on. And it's literally them like going around on a patrol that goes wrong and kind of taking footage of it as it goes along. It's apparently a very good like Vietnam War film, especially considering it was done by a bunch of film students on like no budget.
Are these available? I've never actually heard of these.
I don't know. Again, I think it's something you could probably track down on YouTube if you were interested in.
I might have a look.
There was Man Bites Dog, which was kind of like a fake film crew following around a serial killer. Like a documentary style. It's not really found footage in the way I'd understand it, because I've seen clips of it, and it's very clear, like crisp, normal, like filming. It's just done in like a documentary style, like you've got the killer like casually talking to the camera and stuff. It's French. I've not seen it. It's like Belgian filmmakers, and it's all shot in French. I've not seen it.
So these are films leading up to the last broadcast. So
yeah, the only other one was Forgotten Silver, which is only really worth mentioning because it's Peter Jackson, the guy who did Lord of the Rings, did that. And it's even further removed from the concept that you would understand of a found footage. It's about the history of cinema, basically. And it's got nothing to do with horror or suspense. It's just literally about like the early days of silent cinema. Anyway, let's get on to...
Yeah, so we got the last broadcast, so this came... Was it a cinema release? Was this...
It had a limited cinema release because this was all done by a couple of guys, a bunch of friends. It was really like a test of just what you could do on modern editing software with commercially available cameras. And just basically your own motivation to get it done. Because I've been watching some of the documentaries before you were upstairs getting ready for this. And they ultimately brought it to... they couldn't actually afford to bring it to like proper film. So they had to like show it through a digital projector and so forth at the various...
Yeah, I mean, it's aspect 4.3, so that's made for TV screens, not cinema. So I'm assuming that
they did the like theatre broad circuit, like the festivals. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But they don't think it actually got a proper professional cinema release.
Yeah.
Apparently, they did get a few offers, but they eventually decided they didn't want to try and bring it to full screen. They'd done everything else themselves, so they wanted to keep that alive, basically, and bring it to DVD, which is also probably a reason it never really reached the heights of the Blair Witch did. It was very much forgotten.
I seem to remember it aired on TV around about 2000. So I mean, usually this was like British terrestrial, which usually it's at least 3 years, and it aired within like 18 months, 2 years. So again, it was very much kind of word of mouth.
I think the first time we saw it was shortly after the Blair Witch, because we saw it.
It was at my house, wasn't it? I seem to remember.
Yeah, I think we rented it from Global back when there was still like DVD shops renting stuff. Yeah,
but yeah, certainly, like I said, it's not as good as Blair Witch, but it's very much of that kind of era. It was around at the time when the internet was really picking up. You didn't have a lot of, like, I mean, people could watch videos, but it was like few and far between where that was actually the case. It was more chat rooms and like text.
Basically this does refer to the internet a lot. Mainly IRC chat and so forth like plays a moderate part in the like background of what happened. Ultimately, the story is a bunch of filmmakers and a supposed psychic go out into the woods, hunting down a mythical creature, and they all end up getting killed. Very similar to the Blair Witch in that way. The main difference is they're actually using an actual legend.
The Jersey Devil.
Rather than just making something up like the Blair Witch, which has no actual basis in reality. It's entirely fictional.
The Jersey Devil, that was an episode of X-Files, wasn't it? That was the name of the episode. It was one of the very first ones.
Yeah, it's a proper, genuine like legend, because I've heard it other places. Bordering on cryptozoology, because there have actually been fairly contemporary sightings of a creature that's being dubbed the Jersey Devil. The most popular rendition's a bit of like a horse-like head and a small body and like long legs and wings, and looks very silly.
I was going to say Sarah Jessica Parker until he said the wings a bit. Yeah, so that's the general sort of theme of it. It's very Blair Witch-like. Even the kind of cover of it is very kind of similar.
Yeah, it doesn't really go much into the legend and mythology behind it. Ironically, Blair Witch goes a lot more into the mythology of just what the Blair Witch is. This film, it mentions the Jersey Devil a few times. It just assumes you're going to know what that is. Which I think if you're American would be a bit more of a safe assumption.
Yeah, because obviously in this country it's kind of related. It's kind of like Loch Ness Monster that we've got over in like Scotland, but yeah. So
in fact, it's even got another beat that's very similar to the Blair Witch, because at the end they find footage and try and piece together the footage to figure out what happened, which eventually does reveal who the killer was, and there's a bit of a twist at the end.
Yeah,
which we won't spoil. But
the end was quite good, because I think the problem with this was that it did kind of drag a bit, it felt a bit boring, but there was quite a bit of a payoff at the end. I did like the twist of it as well. So
yeah, basically at the end it it breaks through the found footage premise into being more traditional filming, because you actually see things that there's no way anybody could be filming. Yeah. And it's not even making out like somebody else is filming this somehow. It's now at this point you were seeing beyond the documentary. You were actually seeing what's going on.
Yeah, because it kind of, when stuff goes down at the end, not to give like major spoilers away, I won't really do that, but there's a lot of different camera angles, and he would have had to have like loads of multiple cameras on tripods, which you don't at any point see, I don't think, anyway. So.
No, there's no. Most of it is suggested that it's one guy with a camera and a microphone doing this documentary.
There is a certain kind of disconnect from reality when you're watching these. If you want to enjoy them, you have to kind of be able to suspend disbelief. Basically.
Certainly, that's my criteria for a good found footage film. Ultimately, it's always going to be unbelievable because it's dealing with an unbelievable premise, like there's a demon in your house in Paranormal Activity, or there's a spectral witch haunting you in the Blair Witch. However, if enough of the film is grounded in reality, your brain can forgive the kind of out there premise. You can forgive the, well, I don't really believe in witches, so that's obviously impossible. If enough of the film is realistic, you can almost trick yourself like a magic trick. You can kind of forgive that it's a bit unbelievable and go along with it.
Exactly. I think that was, again, that was a big thing in the 90s. Things like the X-Files were so massive, and Chris Carter was like, his like whole philosophy on his series was, it's only scary as it is believable. So they dealt with things like offices and the police and all that kind of stuff, and just general drama with all this paranormal stuff thrown in.
And also on the subject of the X-Files, there is actually a found footage episode of the X-Files.
X-Cops. It's like an episode of Cops, isn't it?
Yeah, just the Mulder and Scully show up in the middle of it. It's quite funny and well done.
Yeah, it was series 7, I think. That
It was when it was getting a bit more Hollywood, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really silly, kind of. Pretty much every episode was like comedy, but that's that anyway. So, I think the next ones we're going to talk about Blair Witch as well. So we're not going to go too much into that, but it's kind of
certainly that was what completely overshadowed, and quite deservedly overshadowed, the last broadcast. Also, the last broadcast doesn't really deal with the supernatural as such. It makes a vague, half-hearted suggestion at one point that maybe the Jersey Devil really did do it, but mostly it's about the murders. Did the person that got arrested for these murders actually do it? Is there more to the murders than meets the eye? If it's not this person, could it be that person? And that kind of thing, whereas the Blair Witch is...
paranormal.
Yeah, you're pretty much going into it from the belief that something paranormal happened to these kids. This comes in from the other end. It's like these filmmakers got killed. They got killed by something real. They got hacked apart. One of the bodies wasn't found, but the other 2 guys were found, like, butchered, pretty much.
I think they do complement each other, Blair Witch, in this, because like John Carpenter has said, I saw this recently, kind of described horror films. You've got 2 different kinds. You've got the left wing and the right wing. The right wing is the bad guy. Well, it says basically, imagine you sit around a campfire and there's kind of witch doctor, and he says, the evil is out there, it's in the woods, it's coming there to get you. That's the right wing of horror. That's like Blair Witch. That's like it's out there. Then you've got the left wing of horror, which says there is evil out there, it's not out there, it's in here. And that's pretty much what the last broadcast is. It's kind of from within. It's not like a monster chasing you in the traditional sense.
It could be the person next to you is a psychopath.
Yeah.
And he is.
Yeah, true. Anything else you want to add?
Not really on the direct subject of this. Getting the actual DVD of the last broadcast was very easy. This isn't expensive.
Is this something you bought recently?
Yeah, I bought this in preparation for this month, actually.
Yeah.
Mainly because it's something we'd seen back in the 90s, but I kind of wanted to see again. It's not a film that I'm going to return to very often. It's interesting, but I think especially once you know the twist, it kills a lot of the interest. This is a very old kind of style of DVD because we couldn't even get like how long's left.
Yeah, the menu on it usually on your player will have a counter on it, and this doesn't even have that. It was done by Prism Leisure. I don't even know if they still do stuff, but it was very cheap distribution.
Yeah, it also jumps straight into the film. It doesn't like go to the adverts, go to the trailers or anything. It just goes straight in. You've got no.
But it says interactive menus on it as well, which is like not really a feature, is it? That's like saying this video
that used to be
light
that used to be something that was a really that's always what they used to have on these special features. Interactive menus, like all the menus are interactive.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one doesn't go to the menu. It goes straight into the film the moment you put the disc in. Because we were getting ready to watch and you're like, shit, it started playing.
Yeah, I think only now Warner Brothers do that on Blu-rays, but it's rare that you just put it in and it just plays without a menu.
Which is kind of annoying because usually you put it in while you're getting your stuff ready, you know, to watch it. So you don't really want it to start off.
And it's about 5 minutes into the film and you don't.
The rest of the features, there's a couple of trailers. The featurettes on the actual film are fairly short but kind of interesting because it's all about more or less 2 guys who just decided, despite conventional wisdom that says it can't be done, we're going to make a movie just with whatever money we have to hand and a collection of our friends. Some of them are good actors, some of them are just regular people, and we're just going to do this thing. So hats off to them for the accomplishment of managing that. Especially seeing as they went as far as actually releasing it on DVD, which is pretty decent achievement.
Back then, yeah, because it was mostly tapes and stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was literally like, this was like a cutting edge of like what could be done, because people were saying, oh, you can't edit like a movie on your PC, that's insane. You can't film it on like handheld camcorders, that's stupid. And they proved they could. I mean, it looks reasonably professional. It's not a great film, but you're not like watching it thinking, oh god, the quality of this is terrible. It does actually match up pretty much the quality of the documentaries it's mimicking.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's kind of like...
Yeah. There's a very brief thing on the Jersey Devil, but it is literally just...
That 2-minute thing?
Yeah, it's 2 minutes long, and it's literally a case of... The Jersey Devil came from this... Blah-blah.
That was kind of in keeping with that, though. It was like a fictional, you know... It wasn't like, this is... In the real world, this is what we kind of think it might be, if it's real.
I seem to remember this actually motivated me to look up the Jersey Devil like mythology. I was like, well, what the hell is the like deal with that then?
Yeah, so I think that's. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think that's pretty much everything. Our next review's probably going to be the Blair Witch, I think.
Yeah, we'll just kind of figure out how we're going to do this, because 2 films, and there's also not just films, but there's a lot of other mythology, and there's the documentaries that you get with this, which we're going to kind of talk about. So
It's the whole experience when it comes to the Blair Witch. There is a much larger thing, and a lot of it's been lost over time, so unless you were really there at the time and clued into it all, you'd probably have missed all this.
yeah, because it wasn't just a film, it was a whole internet campaign. There was these missing persons posters that kind of went up every now and again. So we'll be talking about that anyway. So I think we should leave it there then.
Yeah.
So Brandex reviews, and the next video will be up tomorrow, and we are going to cover the Blair Witch. So be sure.
Happy Halloween and all that.
Thank you very much.
Recent, generally speaking, at least the biggest ones.
I'd say I'm fairly easy to please. Oh, what the hell? That's brilliant. That wasn't bland.
Well, found footage is a pretty poorly reviewed genre of filmmaking. There has been some absolute stinkers in this, like... Damn it! I was like, why is he started laughing? Right, we're doing more outtakes than actual film here, man. Start again!
Wait.
You sweaty-ass bastard! Fuck! Bastard! Foul-ass shit!
A week later, the footage was found. Just don't say the word stinkers and you'll be alright.
It's not the best received publicly because basically the success of some of the earlier found footage films where they basically turned out a huge blockbuster with almost no budget behind it has kind of translated to a lot of people thinking, right, we can make any old crap, no budget, damn it! Will you focus?
You said crap.
Yes, I know! Right, start again!
Oh, God. Yes.
Welcome to Brandex Reviews. The theme for this thing will be shitting. Happy Halloween and all that.
Thank you very much. And I didn't trump this time.
Yes, thank God!
It's the film, it better be. Yeah, it is.